first item, approval of December 1st building committee minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Yep. Any changes, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 2 is facilities update. Here he is.
Hello. Just give me a second to get caught up with the...
I can't hear you at all.
I said, just give me a moment to get technology caught up. I'm just trying to get up on the screen here. Try this again. Failed to find receiver.
Do you have another thumb drive here, or you want to use mine?
I can email it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Try one more time, because I think I did not have the right network, so.
Can I ask a question? What happens if the city turned down the SS?
They
Whatever.
did.
Pass.
We went Tuesday and they passed it.
They did
Oh,
pass.
they did?
Yeah, we went
Oh.
Tuesday. Yep.
Oh, good.
I loved your email, by the way. I almost sent you one, but I need update.
That's good.
All right, ready?
Oh, yes, thank you for your patience. So I'll start facilities update with custodial. We're down to 2 openings, which is great. Very happy to be able to report that. The custodians spent the holiday break tuning up areas in their buildings that we can't usually get to when the student population is there. Grounds are still struggling with staffing. We're still at 50%. And right now, I just really would like to thank Tom Gray and Wayne Grant. He's the 50% of the grounds crew that's here. And both those guys show up 120% every day, and they are really pushing hard, and I think we can all be grateful to them for the hard work they're doing. Maintenance update, we replaced 12 old steam controllers in the high school, and this kind of highlights the need for the ongoing ESSER projects. Those are steam controllers, are part of the controllers that we will be replacing as part of those projects. We completed a power washing of all the Univent coils. These are the classroom heaters at the middle school. We try to do a 3-year rotation. We do the high school 1 year, we do the middle school the next year, we do all the elementary schools the following year. Picture on the left is a coil before washing, and this is the same coil on the right after. And you can see some dust build up. It's kind of a brownish color. And in that dust, you know, there's all kinds of dust mites, viruses, you know, bacteria, mold spores, all of that. And this air is all filtered. But invariably some air gets around the filter and some particulate gets through the filter. So we do continue to wash them out. That's a great job to get done. We also managed to install curtains in the girls' locker room at the high school. I took this picture this morning after the first gym class had finished using the locker and they were out on the floor. The instructor brought me in and we took this picture. And I'm happy to report that you can see some belongings here, which shows that that's getting some use. There, I believe that's 3 separate people are availing themselves of that for this one class. So that's great to see that. Really low cost. It was the cost of some shower curtains and some zip ties. We managed to work out a grant to install a washer and dryer at William Allen School. And the story behind this goes a little bit beyond just a maintenance update. It's The story starts with Mrs. Danforth and Mr. Gilpatrick over a year ago identifying this need for a washer and dryer. Some students are coming in with clothes that needs to be laundered. So they've identified the need, and those two started working on a grant application that never came to fruition. Summer came around and we had a change of leadership, so time continues to go by. Eventually Ms. Danforth and Mr. Gray get together and start pursuing the same thing again. Mr. Gray brings it to me. At that point, I go upstairs and bring Jen McLean and Mackenzie Harrington Baycode to explain the need. And they identified, I'm going to have to read this, they identified ARP Homeless Children and Youth Grant. And this is an offshoot of ESSER dollars that's earmarked specifically for homeless, transition, highly vulnerable population. So once we know there's money possibly available, we involve Mr. Letourneau, who was out to work with Mr. Gray. They identify a spot in the building. Mr. Letourneau specifies equipment that will be applicable. We figure out what it's going to cost. We then go back to Ms. Harrington Baycode, who gets it approved, and within about 48 hours, we had the equipment on site. It's there now. I'm real happy to report that we'll be installing it next week, so that will be up and running. When I tell that story, you hear a lot of different names. And all the different names tell a different story within the story, right? It's Mr. Rapusi's team. There's a bunch of people in a bunch of different places, all over the place at different levels, and we're all pulling on the same rope to get the same job done. And I was really proud to be part of that. I had read, I'll digress a little bit if you'll indulge me, I had read years ago that a people's greatness will not be judged by how brutally they put down their enemies, but how lovingly they treat their vulnerable. And this was a great example of this community taking care of its most vulnerable. And again, really proud of being part of that. So great for everyone on that. A lot to be proud of there. I'd like to talk about storm damage with a big windstorm where the temperature fell 40 degrees in about 20 minutes. So during that storm, we lost a chimney cap at Gonick, and we lost a roof hatch at School Street. We will be renting a lift to repair all that stuff in-house. And what I bring up here is more so than a lift. It's about, we lost power at Chamberlain School at 5:30 in the morning. By 10 o'clock in the morning, the inside of Chamberlain was down to 50 degrees. It was down to 50 degrees because the outside air temperature was 50 degrees. Had the outside air temperature been 0, we would have froze that building. Anybody that's known me for any amount of time has heard me talk about the need for generators in schools. So what we did was we found and rented a generator and got it up here. We had it on site by about noon. Never had to get it connected to Chamberlain. Chamberlain does not have a ready roll-up connection. We had to get an electrician out to start making up custom fittings to tie in to get our boilers running. Didn't have to use that. We got electricity restored by 3:30 in the afternoon, and we've been fine since. But it really underscores to me our need to have a better disaster response plan. And I just make that as a footnote because budget season's coming up, and you'll probably hear me talk more about roll-up generators. One generator could probably save 2 schools on freezing. We have 11 schools. So we'll talk more about that. Just wanted to kind of talk about that storm. Air quality improvement project, you heard the good news. I think Mr. Rapusi just said that we received our attestations from the city, so we're all set on that first audit of the first 2 rounds. The one of 2 rooftop units going into McClellan School is at the crane yard now. We're planning to hoist it at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning before the students show up. We don't want to be doing overhead work when there's kids in the building. That's weather dependent, so if this all ices up, that's going to get postponed, but hopefully we'll be flying that equipment early tomorrow morning. The big project at the high school has started. There's some sprinkler pipe demo has been completed. We're going to be installing some temp fencing. Heavy demos probably start next week. We're working through fingerprinting and background checks now and getting people all the access that they need and dumpster locations and all that sort of thing. So that project is going to go into full screen very soon. The controls project is continuing to move ahead. We're 100% now at Gonick. We're working at Chamberlain as the main thrust, and we're beginning the controls at McClellan. And if you remember, the McClellan controls were the locally funded part of the whole project. That's going to kick off, and our middle school's on deck. So all the ESSER stuff is moving along. Lead in drinking water. We now have 7 schools at 100%. Gonick, Maple Street, Middle School, East Rochester, Nancy Loud, School Street, and Bud Carlson. Of the remaining 4 that have been tested, they originally came back over the limit. We remediated everything and sent out retest. Of those 4 schools, 2 of them we got information back. and they did not pass 100% of their second round, which isn't all that surprising, because the first round we tested without having done anything. If that fails, we then replace the fixture right on top of the sink. If that fails, which is where we're at now, we go ahead and replace the shutoffs underneath. If that fails, then we look at refeeding it or abandoning it. So of the 4 schools that are in their second round, William Allen School, we submitted 10 for second round and we only cleared 3. The high school, we submitted 12 in the second round and we cleared 8. The other 2 schools is Chamberlain and McClellan. We're still waiting second round results in those schools. Just want to take a second and assure the public that any of these faucets that have it, they're shut off. Nobody has access to them. From the minute we got the first result, they get taken completely out of service. Nobody's going near them. And I want to highlight just the amount of meticulous care that goes into this project. I'll end with work orders. The period December 1st through December 31st, 2022, completed 90 work orders, which is up from 58 in November. We created 135 new work orders, up from 122 in November. It gives us a close ratio of 0.66 to 1, which is up from 0.48 to 1. Of the December batch, 41 remain open, and we have an average day from assignment of a work order to completion of a work order of 10.96 days. So we're in good shape work orders. That's my facilities update. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have?
Mr. Todd, the only school that has a standby generator currently in the district is RMS, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir. And we have roll-up umbilicals already in place at the Tech Center and East Rochester.
Okay.
Any of the other schools would have to be a custom fabrication
Right.
to get power.
So question is, my question to you is have we ever looked at a towable for something like where we lose power at one school?
That's what we rented, and that's what I'd like to continue a discussion of as we move to the upcoming budget season.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Anyone? Go ahead, Ron.
On the lift, what was the turnaround time for you to get one?
We can have a lift here in a few days.
No, not to rent, to purchase.
No, rent.
Oh, to rent,
Right.
To
sorry.
rent, yeah.
Easy.
I can get one tomorrow.
No, it's just, delay of repair is all.
Sitting in his backyard.
Any other questions? Paul?
Mr. Toddy, one more if I could. Have we ever looked at Gentrans at all the schools and what that would take to install?
To install generators in all the
No, the
schools?
Gentrans, the switches, so if you wanted to plug.
switches.
We have not, no.
Okay.
But,
I bet it is.
yeah, it would certainly be significant. So it's been kind of, the approach is we do a major renovation, we would add a generator.
I got you.
And we tried to get that, and you know where we are.
Yeah, no, I remember that conversation.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We'd be looking just for powering the heat source so we don't freeze the school. We're not looking to run the school.
That's correct.
It's just
That's correct. We need to power
to alleviate.
the building pumps, the boiler, and some limited amount of controls to keep a building from freezing. That's the goal.
Maybe keep the food from spoiling.
And keep the food from spoiling, that would be another thing. I know at the middle school, that generator will support refrigeration.
Right.
I hadn't got that far in my thought process on any other schools as we move forward.
Okay.
Good. Great. Thank you, Mr. Toddy.
Thank you.
Next item is Rochester Middle School secure entrance bids.
In your backup, you can see that we had one bidder. There were, I think, 3 came to the walkthrough, only 1 submitted a response. Their bid was $72,400. This is Solid Roots Construction. We've done lots of work with them, both the city side and on the school side. They built our red storage building out here, a fine reputation. We have a SAFE grant approval for $60,000, which, welcome to my world in this post-COVID world, trying to figure out what construction costs are from day to day is tricky. So 60,000 we thought would have been more than enough, and it's not, we're a little bit short. But we do have a cash CIP line, 23201, titled Building Security, that's currently funded with $20,000. So I'm asking for a motion to approve Solid Roots Construction in the amount of $72,400 for the RMS secure entrance bid, with $60,000 that coming from a SAFE grant and the balance coming from cash CIP 23201.
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve Solid Roots Construction in the bid of $72,400. The allocations coming from CIP line and grant approved funding.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm
Just a
sorry.
quick question. Mr. Toddy, do you have, or did you have going into this, what you wanted to spend that 20,000 on and what won't be spent or what won't be purchased as a result of this?
So the cash CIP lines are usually more to deal with problems as they arise. So it was a security, building security. My thought was had we lost a server or a host of cameras or some of the camera switches, this money would be there for that.
Okay.
None of those things have failed right now. We do have electrical infrastructure money available, so if some of those things failed, we could certainly look at electrical infrastructure for any of that.
And obviously, there's still $8,000 there after this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I think unfortunately, we've seen it year after year, when we get to the budgetary stuff, facility seems to be the guy that gets kicked first, unfortunately. So we're always robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you've done an exceptional job of keeping the district running forward. So we'll just be cognizant that we've depleted that line, and if something does come up, just make sure you present to the board, please.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Next item, going back, land acquisition.
So I have a handout for you.
This is dry land. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I remember.
Here's your new school in Berlin.
Thank you, sir.
The old days, you used to be able to do that, and you can't do that anymore, though,
Thank
right?
you.
Exactly. Look, people look at your money, you start going,
Used to blow out cakes and candles on heat.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
So I'm gonna put up on the board the list of land here. So these are properties, we put out a request to the public to announce whether we're looking for land and solicit for suggestions, so. And then we also had a few come out from board members suggested, oh, why don't you look over here or look at that? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 privately held parcels and 3 that are already city-owned on this list. This is kind of a sensitive discussion because if we move to purchase a piece of property, you know, you're in negotiation of price, and you may want to consider having the rest of this conversation in non-public.
Do you want to kind of walk through what you found, though?
Well, I think to his point, I think
You know, that
we
makes
say
sense.
which ones
Yeah,
are
yeah,
out.
yeah. Yep, just completely agree, sorry, my fault.
So, do you want to just review, or just, this is just an
I
FYI?
think this is just so, you did,
This is in the backup, so if
Yeah.
somebody wanted to see it, but what we're not gonna do in public is discuss, like, why
Right,
we may want
exactly.
this one more than that
Right,
one.
yeah.
Individual.
Which is a conversation I'd love to have.
yeah, where are we on the agenda? Well, we can,
We could do it now.
We gave non-public.
do we have a motion?
No.
Is there not public on the agenda?
Put it in other.
You can?
No, we didn't.
I think we can do it.
Under other.
We can do it under other, obviously.
Pardon?
We can do it under other. Go to non-public.
Just go.
Yeah? Do you want to finish the agenda and then
Yeah.
go in non-public? Okay. Next item would be 5-year plan,
No action.
nothing. Great. Public comment, no public. Other?
Sounds like that's a good time for
Oh, I
that.
could have done it, right? I'll make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3 2D.
Second.
Motion is second. Can we
Do we have a
roll
roll
call?
call?
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Munn?
Yes.
Mr. Cameri?
Mr. Lynch, you have a motion?
start? Yeah.
Is there any need to seal these minutes?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
We don't, not on the
No,
language.
so,
Okay,
Ms.
Mr.
Stevens,
Lynch,
if I
you
may,
have a
I'd like to
motion?
make a motion that the superintendent move forward the recommended lane.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
opposed.
All right.
Great. And I believe that's it. Anything under other? Any other? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.